Hi everyone, good day. Thanks for joining Megaport Live Tech Drop this morning. So as usual, we have different essay running Tech Drop on most of the Friday. So today I'll be the host. Okay, so for today Tech Drop, I'll be sharing on cloud access architecture using Megaport as well as live demo. So here is a little bit about myself, Serena To, the pre-sale solution architect at Megaport. And I'm based in Singapore. So this is my email address as well as my LinkedIn. So if you have any questions or you want to get connected to me, feel free to do so. Mm. Yeah, so this is just a quick intro who is Megaport and what we do. So Megaport is a network as service provider, and we are running our own global network, as you can see from the diagram, that is managed through software-defined networking, which is SDN for short. So this map shows Megaport's global private backbone, where Megaport points of presence are around the world. So the red dots actually shows our points of presence. So today we are already interconnected to all the major hyperscaler like AWS, Azure, GCP, Oracle Cloud, and IBM. We believe that connectivities to the cloud should be easy. All this can be deployed in our private global network as fast as 60 seconds using our self-hub portal. Okay. So Megaport at a glance. So with Megaport, what you can do, so you can connect to all the major hyperscaler, as I mentioned, and over 1,000 data center operators and 260 service providers across the globe. Okay, so and it's also secure. So your data will traverse on a private global backbone, bypassing all the public internet. You have consistent performance, like having your own like private fiber line. You also pay for the capacity that you deploy, okay? Since you can scale, capacity up and down as on demand, you no longer have to worry about, traffic spike or wasted capacity for those that you are even using, okay? So you can design and deploy and manage all this network in a single portal. So it's basically just a point and click, which I'll be showing you in the live demo later. So you bring your own cloud service key, and also our integrations will make establishing private connectivities easy, okay, in our network itself. Okay, so this is a quick overview of our Megaport services. So on the left-hand side, so these are the three different access product that allows you to get into our network, okay, mainly which is the port, okay, a Megaport cloud router, okay, and a Megaport virtual edge itself. And then in between, you will need to use a virtual cross connect, which is a layer 2 to connect between two endpoints. I will share more in detail in the next few slides. So this is a glance for you to understand what is our offering. Okay. Okay, so what is a port? Okay, so a port is basically high-speed Ethernet interface acting as an NNI between a users and a Megaport network. So as you can see from the diagram itself, okay, you can see that there's red icon, which is a port, okay? So this can be configured as a 802.1q VLAN trunk, okay? And it can support up to 100 virtual cross connect, which is our VXC. Okay, each presenter has a unique VLAN, okay, in our network itself, okay? So as you can see, the hands-off itself is a single single mode fiber, okay? As you can see from the diagram on the left-hand side, you just need to order a port in the same Megaport enabled data center, okay? As your own equipment or your same data center, and you N and I with us using a physical cross connect, okay? However, if you're not in the data center, but at the branch office itself, you can extend that connections through the port, okay? You can get the last mile, okay, from the telco, okay, that we are in, and then they will pull it to the Megaport enabled data center to meet us there, okay? So as you can see, this is how you can gain access to Megaport network through this NNI, through a physical port itself, okay? So by connecting to the physical port itself, on the right-hand side, you can see a Megaport network. This is how you can gain access to the whole Megaport ecosystem, okay, through that NNI itself, okay? So as I mentioned, so virtual cross connect. So within our network itself, we actually use virtual cross connect to interconnect to the cloud routers, to any endpoints. So it is between two endpoints. So a VXC is basically just a layer 2 virtual cross connect that connect between two endpoints in our network itself. Okay. So basically, if you're looking at Q in Q, it can be supported. So these are the MTU that's being supported as well. So 9,100 bytes, okay, for the VXC that's deployed off the port itself. Okay, so for Megaport Cloud Router, okay, it's basically a layer 3 Megaport productized product, okay? So in short, it's just a managed virtual router. You think of it as a basic router that give you the ability to interconnect the clouds for cloud-to-cloud communications, okay? So basically, these are some of the features that's available in the Megaport Cloud Router. In short, we call it MCR. Okay, so we have like simplified features such as NAT. Okay, we have route filtering, packet filtering, which is a mini firewall. Okay, that which you can enable on the cloud as and when you need that feature. So lately, we also launched IPsec features on the MCR. So basically, it's doing site-to-site VPNs. So as part of demo later, I'll show you. We also allocate public IP for connections to the cloud, especially like AWS and Azure. Okay, so if let's say you are looking to access AWS and Azure public resources and you need a public IP address as part of the requirements from the CSP itself, you Megaport could allocate the public IP for that purposes when you actually deploy a Megaport cloud router. Okay. As you can see, these are some of the capacity that we support. So we support capacity from 1 gig to 100 gig, okay? All depending on which region you are in, okay? So the minimally you're able to find like maybe 10 gig in the particular region that we have, okay? And one most good features is that there's auto configurations of L3 to the CSP, which is the cloud, okay? If using a MCR. Okay. Okay, so this is to show you how you can deploy a MCR to a cloud. And if you want to extend the connection back to the in-prem, you can deploy a port to connect to it. So as you can see from a diagram, the lower half, which is a Megaport cloud router, can be used to establish the connection to the cloud, okay? So if you wish to extend the connection back to your on-prem, okay, then you just have to link the Megaport cloud router to the port, physical port that you NNI with us. Okay, so the traffic will be routed back to the on-prem. Okay, this is how the traffic can be routed. Okay, so the third access will be Megaport Virtual Edge. So in short, we call it a MVE. So what is the MVE? So it's basically an on-demand vendor neutral NFV platforms that you can provision on our network with bring your own license concept. Okay. So we are vendor neutral. You can host your next gen firewall, SD-WAN, routers. Okay, so we also have many different compute size options that you can host from. So from 2 virtual CPU all the way to 32 virtual CPU, also depend on locations. And the good part is it's real-time provisioning at any MVE enable location globally. Okay. So in short, Megaport will provide you the compute and the networking and the internet as the underlay. So the overlay will be your bring your own licensing concept. So you get to choose from the list of approved vendor from the list. So from the list, it's always updating. So as you can see, that include the usual Cisco, Palo Alto, Fortinet, etc., etc. So you can host all this onto as a choice of an overlay on our network itself. Okay. Okay, so now, yeah, I would like to talk about what are different way for cloud access, using Megaport itself. Okay. So just to recap again, okay. So just as I have spoken, these are the three services. So we have ports, okay, we have MCR, we have MVE, okay. So all these are interconnected by our virtual cross connect, okay, which is the middle layer, okay. And then you are able to connect that to any of our endpoint, okay, under the services, okay. So for this example, this is like mainly for connections from ports to the cloud. Okay. So how it works is that first customer will locate in a Megaport enabled data center that NNI with us. So on the left hand side will be your equipment, your rack, okay, that you want to NNI with us. Okay. And then Megaport port itself has a red icon where provision has a logical handoff. Okay, so a layer 2, which is a VXC, okay, created from the red icon, which is Megaport port, okay, to the CSP, which is the Azure through Express Route, AWS through Direct Connect, GCP through Interconnect. Okay, so this is how you can do a L2 connections from the port to the cloud itself. So customer will establish the BGP directly with the cloud on the right hand side. Okay, so the traffic flow will be like data center, your NNI to Megaport, and then to the cloud itself. Okay, so some of the like key characteristic, what you can get is a private, dedicated connectivity from this setup. The layer 2 transport is by Megaport itself. Layer 3 routing is controlled by you customers, okay, on your router itself. Okay, so you're able to do and scale bandwidth on demand provisioning to the cloud. Okay, and another thing to note that is there will be cheaper egress charges by the CSP itself as compared if the traffic is to go through via the public internet. Okay, so yeah, you will enjoy better cost saving for egress cost. Okay. Okay, so next will be hybrid cloud connectivities via the MCR, okay, with the on-prem NNI to the cloud itself, okay. So how does this work is that on the left-hand side, customers will again connect to the Megaport via the NNI port in that Megaport enabled locations. If you take notice, this time the cloud will connect to the Megaport cloud router, okay, which is our MCR, instead of the port. Okay, so the Megaport cloud router itself will handle the layer 3 routing, okay, to the cloud. Okay, and the customer router on the left hand side will then peer the BGP with the MCR. Okay, and the MCR itself will connect to the multi-cloud provider, which is the Azure, AWS, GCP on the right-hand side. Okay, so the on-prem data center traffic can be returned via the NNI port through Megaport itself. So the traffic flow will be like data center to NNI to Megaport MCR and then to the cloud, and then back from the cloud MCR NNI and to the data center. Okay. So yeah, so the key characteristic is single MCR can handle multiple cloud itself. Okay, so you can see that this single MCR can handle all these cloud for cloud to cloud communications. You also see that the NNI port can provide this dedicated on-prem path. Layer 3 routing for the cloud is handled by the MCR. There's flexible bandwidth and scalable cloud access. Okay, customer on-prem will manage their BGP, okay, towards the MCR itself. Okay. Okay, so this is another model, okay, looks the same, but slightly different, okay. So this time we'll be using a Megaport Virtual Edge, which is MVE, okay. So you can do it with a firewall, with a SD-WAN, with a router functionality based on the requirements. So how it works, okay, on the left-hand side, customer will connect to the Megaport again via the NNI port in one of the location that we are in. This time, the MV itself will act as a layer 3 virtual router, a firewall, okay, dependings. Okay, so this time, or maybe even a SD-WAN, okay, edge, okay. So this time the cloud will connect to the MVE, okay, instead of a MCR. Okay, so the MV will handle the layer 3 routing. Okay, so customer equipment will peer the BGP with the MVE, and then the MVE will peer with the cloud, and then they'll connect to the different cloud providers. Okay, so if you set up the MVE as a firewall, okay, obviously you will get traffic inspection, filtering, routing, all handled by the MV itself. Okay, so the traffic flow will then back to the on-prem via the NNI. Okay, so what's the traffic flow like? So data center to the NNI to Megaport to the firewall, which is the MVE, okay, or SD-WAN, and then to the cloud. And then from the cloud back to the MVE, and then back to the data center through the NNI. Okay. So as you can see from here, the MV will serve as a firewall plus a router. It's able to support multi-cloud connectivity from a single edge, okay? NNI will provide the layer 2 hands-off. There's centralized traffic inspection and security policy if you configure MV as a firewall, okay? So the customers on the left-hand side, yeah, will manage, the BGP, everything, and then connect back to the MVE perspective, okay? Okay, so this is another model, okay, which is a dedicated model, okay, with something different. So it's an on-prem to a dedicated cloud, okay? So over here, the data center on the left is the same, okay, we'll connect to the Megaport port, okay, in the data center. The only difference is on the right-hand side, okay? So this is a dedicated model that customers need to order a dedicated port from the CSP. For example, this is like AWS, okay, on the locations of the cloud on-ramp that they want to do the NNI, okay, in that same data center, okay. So basically, later I'll show you how you can order a dedicated port as part of the demo. Okay, so the in-between connection will still be using virtual cross connect. Okay, customer can connect from the data center, okay, from the data center on-prem to the AWS, okay, using Megaport VXC. Okay, so customers equipments will establish BGP peering with AWS itself. Okay, so the traffic flow will be from data center to through Megaport to AWS directly. Okay, and coming back is the same. Okay, AWS to Megaport and then back to the data center. So this allow you to have very private, high bandwidth connectivities to AWS. Okay, and also introduce like low latency dedicated path. Setup is pretty simple. Okay, as you can see, the difference is that on both end, both need to have a physical cross connect, connecting to the physical equipment in the data center. Okay. Okay, so this is also another dedicated model, but this is between two different clouds, okay? So instead of the usual left-hand side that customer meet us at the data center they're in, so for this, customer will order a dedicated port, okay, from the CSP. For example, GCP on the left, and then AWS on the right, okay, on the locations, obviously on the locations on RAM that they want to do the NNI. So using a virtual cross connect again, okay, they can do a interconnection between GCP and AWS using this setup. So this allowed dedicated model between the two as CSP. Okay, so the two CSP will talk to themselves through these dedicated layer 2 services. So for some customers who want to do MACsec, this is how they can do it, okay? However, MACsec require both ends of the layer 2 links to be MACsec capable equipment. So you must have a MACsec capable equipment, okay, to support. Okay, so you also need to verify with the CSP if MACsec is supported at that locations, okay, at the region, okay. So not all region support MACsec at the CSP end. Yeah. Okay, so now it's time for a live demo. I'm going to walk through how you can deploy some of the cloud services through our portal as what I've walked on earlier. Okay, so I think I'll be showing you on the dedicated model, so how you can do that. Okay, so let's head over. Okay, but before I head over, I would like to show you about this website, which is Megaport enable locations. So this is a very good page whereby you can find Megaport points of presence, which I mentioned. So as you can see here, these are all the countries that we have point of presence inside, okay? So you can filter based on the country that you want, or maybe you want to find out, which locations has MVE enabled, or maybe which location have MCI enabled, okay? So for example, let's say I can say Singapore, okay? One look at Singapore. So these are all the Singapore data center that we're in, okay? And then you want to filter based on for MCR, okay? Whether this location can I deploy MCR, okay? You can filter based on that. It will tell you that, SG1, Sing 10, there's a MCR enable. So likewise, you can click on MV to do the filtering, okay? Yep, so this is a very good page for you to find out where you can deploy and plans your requirement, okay? So now let's head over to the portal. Okay, so I've already logged into the portal. So this is the landing page of the portal. So it shows you Megaport point of presence. Okay, so you can click on the portal itself. I mean on the icon itself. Okay, to expand, to find out the locations. Okay, over here is a bird eye view of the connections that we have. So this will show you the number of ports that we have in the account, the number of MCR, MV, so on and so forth, and the status over here, the service status, okay? So usually I will prefer to go to service, okay, to do the deployment. So these are the three service product access that I mentioned. So you can create a physical NNI, a Megaport cloud router, a Megaport virtual edge, okay? So I'm going to show you how you can create a port, okay? So head over to port and you need to choose a locations that you want to deploy a port, that you want to meet us there, okay? So for example, you yourself are in maybe global switch, okay? Example, I put Singapore first. Okay, then I will look for global switch, okay? So I'll check the locations. Okay, then I'll hit next. Okay, these are all the different port speed. Okay, we got 1, 10, and 100 gig hands off. So let's say I'm going to deploy 10 gig. I will have a name. I will say demo. This one is I will just simulate this one is a port on-prem. Okay, port on-prem. Okay, so these are our contract terms. Okay, so you can choose as low as 1 month all the ways to 60 months. So there'll be more cost saving if you choose a longer contract. Okay, and also we also have cross connect services if you choose to order from us. Okay, if you want us to include. Okay, if you do not want, just ignore, and then I'll hit next, and I will say add port. Okay, I haven't placed the order yet. Okay. So once I review the order, I will say review order. I will validate. I will say order now. Okay. So what I have shown you is just how easy it is to deploy a physical port in that data center that you want to NNI with us. Okay. So once the service has been deployed, you will see there's a letter of authorization LOA in the system itself. Okay, so we'll head over that. Okay, once it's done. Now I'm going to show you how to deploy another port as well. Okay, because I'm going to do the dedicated connections. Okay, to show you. So let's head over to let's say I want to deploy in Singapore again. Okay, Singapore. This time I'm going to choose SG2. Okay. And again, I want to connect via 10 gig port. Okay, so I will say demo. Okay, port AWS. Okay, so this time, this port itself, I'm going to use a dedicated AWS model. So it need to NNI with this port itself. Okay, so I just put a name. Again, depends on the contract term, whether this location you want to you want to include cross connect. Okay, so if you choose a 12, you can see the features enable. I'll just choose one for demo. I'll say add port. Okay, again, I will review order. I will say order now. Okay. So again, this will take some time to do the ordering, okay? So as you can see over here, demo port on-prem deploy off global switch, okay? Is the status changed to configure. So this is the download LOA that I'll click on it, okay? Let me click on it and show you. Yeah. So this is the letter of authorization which show you Megaport's demarcation that you can pass to your data center operator to do an NNI with us, okay? Okay, this is a demarcation. Likewise, when the port of for this AWS has been deployed, you will see this download LOA, okay? So as you can see, the icon here will be in gray because the icon only turn green once the patching, everything has been done, okay? So it's normal. So let's head over to AWS console, okay? To show you how you can order a dedicated, okay, port from AWS. So I head over to create connections. Okay, so based on your requirements, I'll just use a classic. And then I will say AWS port. Okay, I will choose the location SG2. So remember just now I actually order in SG2. So I order the AW and SG2. So I'm going to order the AWS port in SG2 also. Let me say SG2. Okay, so the bandwidth, I'm going to run a 10 gig. Okay. So on-prem connect through AWS Direct Connect. So I'm going to choose Megaport in this case. Okay. So just now I talked about the MACsec. So if you are running MACsec, okay, over this dedicated port, okay, you need to request a MACsec capable port. So this is some of the additional settings that require you to do it on the portal itself, on AWS portal itself. Okay. So I'm not going to run a MACsec, so I'm going to ignore. Okay, so I'm going to say create connections. Okay. So as you can see, it's requested. Okay. So there'll be some more informations that you need to open a case with AWS to continue. Okay, so this is how we can order from AWS side. Okay, let's head over to the portal. Okay, so assuming that the cross connect has been patched between AWS, okay, and Megaport physical port itself, okay, using the physical cross connect, and assuming your on-prem has been patched already. So how you can connect these two connections together? As per mentioned earlier on, we use a private cross connect, which is the L2 virtual cross connect. Okay, this is how we can do it. So we can add a connection over here. And then I will say private VXC. Okay. And then I will choose my, one is AN, so one is BN. So I will choose maybe demo. What's the name? Demo port. This is the one. Okay. I will say next. So from AWS port towards my on-prem, I will say VXC in between. Okay. Can choose the bandwidth. For example, maybe I'm going to choose maybe, okay, 1 gig, for example. Okay, I'll leave the setting to default. I will say next, and then I'll add the VXC. Okay. And then I will review order. Okay. And then I will say order now. Okay. So what I have just done is that basically I have connect from the on-prem to the CSP, which is AWS, via a dedicated model. Okay. Maybe I just show you back this diagram. Okay, so this is what I have done. So I have built this port, and I built this port, and I'm doing the interconnection. Okay. me just go back here. Okay. So let me show you the last thing. So as I mentioned, you can do a cloud router, okay? You can also do the virtual edge, okay? I'll just quickly show you how you can deploy a MCI. It's very straightforward, the same. So I'll just choose, let's say, Hong Kong one, okay? Hong Kong. Okay, let's say do Hong Kong. Maybe I do Hong Kong 2. I will click next. I will select the bandwidth for the router. So maybe I'm going to choose a 1 gig router. Then I will give a name. I'll say demo S1. Okay. As I mentioned just now, so MCR support IPsec. So if you require IPsec, you can add the IPsec over here. Okay. So there'll be a different cost. So we have like in blocks of 10 tunnels, 20 and 30 tunnels. So depends on needs. Okay. So there'll be price difference. Okay. So I'll just choose a 10 tunnel. Okay. If you require, you add. Okay. If it doesn't require, you can just remove. Okay. Then you just pay for the router itself. I'll just hit next and add an MCR. Okay. So this is how easy you can deploy a Megaport cloud router for your cloud-to-cloud communications. Okay, so once the MCR has been spin up, you can actually do connections to the cloud, okay, from the MCR, okay. But in view of time, I will not demo on how you can do the cloud connection. I'll quickly just show you. This is your MCR. You can add a connections and you can choose the cloud, okay? And this is how and where you can connect to the cloud, okay? So example for let's say, let's go Google. They will ask you for a parent key before you move on, okay? Yeah. Okay. Let me head over here again. Okay, let me go over here. Okay, so as you can see, just now we do a interconnections, okay? It mentioned that service is waiting for the first time. It's normal because both end has not been patched yet. So in the real scenario whereby the port has been patched, okay, the connection will definitely come up. Yep. Okay, so that brings us to the end of demo. Okay, so thank you so much for your time today. I hope you find these sessions helpful, useful for you. So if you have any question, feel free to leave them on the LinkedIn, and I'll get back to you. Okay. Yeah. So that's all. Wishing you a good Friday. Thanks again. Bye bye.